The free market was the problem for the Times, though. When legacy media had a monopoly, people had no choice. They're like, well, I guess I'll get my newspaper to my door. And then all of a sudden, they had choices. And you know what? They stopped choosing you. Zach Abraham, good to see you.
Good to be seen. How are you?
Oh, good to be seen back. I don't know. Sure. I feel like I'm seen every day, so you know.
Like I was telling people, I came on today kind of in awe. I mean, somebody was on the Dark Horse podcast.
Yeah, I went and did that with Brett Weinstein, which I didn't know you were a fan of his show, but a lot of people are, I guess. And I had a great conversation with him. Talked about all sorts of things about the West Coast just being insane, and had an awesome conversation. So if people care to watch that, I think it's like 2 weekends ago, so you can find it on his YouTube channel.
He's kind of like Ron Burgundy. He's kind of a big deal.
Kind of a big deal. He is. And super smart.
Yeah.
He's one of those people where I actually like going into rooms where I feel dumb because I feel like I can learn something. And so he's, I almost, you sit down and you're like, God, I hope I don't sound stupid, because he really is so intellectual, and he was a professor and all these things. But no, he was a great, gracious host, didn't make me feel stupid. And we talked about a lot of stuff that I am really excited about. So yeah, thank you for the plug for my interview on Dark Horse. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right. Zach, how do you feel about being forced to fund local news?
Oh, I mean, I'm thrilled.
Yeah,
right?
the Seattle Times just have some money taken from you.
This has to be violating some kind of law, right? Like
to give like grants to certain industries?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the media, like private media, now a state government is going to fund a private media that is like a rag that is totally tied to the party that controls power inside of a state?
Well, not against the law, but it should be against journalistic ethics and standards.
There are just as many, if not more, journalists in the state than there ever have been. They're just not under one roof and controlled by a corporate entity that's bought and paid for by the Democratic establishment in the state.
Yep.
There's tons of journalists. They won't let them into the press pass and that's another thing that just fries my grits. Okay. Let's say this was Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Okay. And let's say people like us are very much in the minority and they make me king for a day or governor for a year or whatever.
Right.
I would make it an order to dole out press passes regardless of party affiliation. That's where you look at these people, and I look at them and I go, you're violating your own stated ethics. They're yours. You were the one telling me you're for equality and for all this stuff, but you're dangerous.
Yeah.
Brandi, we can't deny.
I'm dangerous to their business model. That's what I'm I'm dangerous to their business model. They say they care about press access and accountability and transparent government and holding people in power accountable, but only if we're doing it, not if she's doing it. That's literally only if we're doing it, not if she's doing it. Also, give us money so we can keep doing it, as they just, handhold the party in power. And do you think, I'm a news organization. I pay taxes as a news organization in the state of Washington. It is my primary source of income. Do you think that I would get a grant from the Democrats to do? Oh, of course not. And I wouldn't want one. And I don't need one, because enough people support our show where we're doing fine financially. There's a reason the Seattle Times can't make money. It's just the stupidest thing.
Well, they quit. Look, the reason they're going broke is the same reason that all legacy media is going broke.
Yes.
At one point, they decided to be the information dissemination arm of the far left. And what did that mean? Not a lot of business owners in that group of people. So you lost your sponsors.
Yep.
You're an idiot. Don't bite the hand that feeds you. You've got a ridiculously broken business model, and you've turned into Pravda. So literally what they're asking the citizenry of the state to do is to defund a poorly run and defunct business. And it's all about power and money. And if they were doing such a service to the population of this state, why isn't the population of this state reading it?
Yep. Exactly.
Exactly. You know the last company on the earth that should get a government subsidy
is the media.
A failing media company,
or even a successful media company. It's totally contrary to your point. It's totally contrary to the point. There should be a firm separation. I understand that there's publicly funded media like TVW or C-SPAN, but they're doing an overall public good to help people see how government functions and watch meetings that they otherwise wouldn't be able to. It's a totally different thing.
Right.
But it's, and C-SPAN, I don't even know. I heard that it wasn't even funded by the government. I think for a long time I thought it was, and I guess apparently it's not. I don't know. Maybe I'm confused on that.
It's one of the reasons I love free markets.
Yeah.
If that were the case, they wouldn't need money.
Right.
You don't need money. You and Nicole aren't on the edge of being out of a job. Why? Because you provide valuable information that people actually want to hear.
Right. And the free market was the problem for the Times, though. When legacy media had a monopoly, people had no choice. And before the internet and social media and all these, people had no choice. They're like, well, I guess I'll get my newspaper to my door. And then all of a sudden, they had choices. And you know what? They stopped choosing you. That's not anybody's fault but yours. It's just wild. Anyway, let's see here. The unemployment rate, let's talk a little bit about jobs. So job growth surged in January. They added 130,000 total non-farm jobs, 172,000 private sector jobs, way above expectations. But here's the interesting thing. The federal employment, lowest level since 1966. So our federal government under Trump, employment for the federal government, lowest rate since 1966.
Yeah, which, look, I'm not glad that people have lost their jobs, but I don't think that anybody out there that is a reasonable-minded human being would not sit there and go that government, by and large, across this country, from one corner to the other, is bloated and needs to be trimmed. So I think that's good news. I also think that I will tell you internally that jobs number surprised us. It was more than people were expecting, but here's why it's impressive. 130,000 isn't a huge print. But when you put it in the backdrop of what's going on the immigration side and the deportation of so many people, that is impressive. And so it's really interesting because just the other day, Trump was on, I believe, Fox News again, advocating, I didn't watch the whole interview, but advocating for more interest rates cuts. And he even said we should cut interest rates 2%. You can't do that in this environment. You can't. And if you did, I mean, if you pulled 2 percentage points, 200 basis points out of the long end, and let's say the 30-year yield at that point is down to 3. Think about if you could get a 3.75, 4% 30-year mortgage right now, housing prices would go vertical.
Yeah.
That fast. Inflationary measures would rip out of control. So I would be looking at Trump going, man, if I were you, I'd be praying that you don't get what you want.
Yeah.
But more importantly, I just don't think he's going to. And he's going to be mad at the head of the Fed when this happens. But when the head of the Fed refuses to cut rates here, the Fed painted themselves in a corner when they were cutting rates when they didn't need to right before the election for Biden. Yeah. That's the big mistake here. But if you look at the data the way it is now, their hands are tied.
Yeah, I keep seeing these, not that I believe everything I see on the internet, but I keep seeing a lot of doom and gloom projections about jobs in the next few years with AI. I mean, I saw something that like on office jobs, especially like that it's going to be like the worst thing for jobs that the world has ever seen. And that freaks me out because I don't know who this guy is, but he wrote a really interesting X article about it and just about how quickly AI has developed and how rapidly it's improving itself, right? And I mean, we're like eons beyond where we were even a year ago or 2 years ago with AI. And so the argument he's saying is this collapse will be so quick. Like a lot of people won't even see it coming, where their jobs will just be replaced by AI. I mean, are you as concerned about that as some people are?
Yes and no. The thing that does concern me about AI and the disruptive nature of it is the speed at which it will be deployed, right? So when we think back to other really disruptive technologies, the internet, the automobile, several others, you were not living in a connected world at that point, right? So the speed at which these things can get rolled out is so much more. And, it's like we talk about in economics all the time. It's never the change that gets you. It's the pace of the change.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
And so, for instance, if inflation goes up 40% over 20 years, it's not a big deal, right? That's actually normal. Inflation goes up 40% over 3 years, that's a problem, right? So that part of it, I think we should be really concerned about. The flip side of it is that, like I said, we have had scenarios where we have had very disruptive technologies before, and everybody said the same thing. No one's going to need any work on the jobs, right? I think when the internet was rolling out, we're not going to need stores. There are going to be no salespeople anymore, right? All that stuff. It turned out to be, some of it's true, turned out to be by and large way overstated.
Yeah.
So I think both things are true. I do think it's going to be very disruptive, and I think it's going to be far more disruptive than previous disruptive technologies. But human beings have been pretty good at adapting.
Yeah.
Right. And it will open up other areas that will uncover value that we didn't even think about. And we've seen this happen so many times throughout history. There's always going to be benefits we didn't see coming.
Yeah.
The cost side of it is going to be important. I don't think that raising interest rates will help that one way or the other. Okay, I think that interest rates are primarily a level to make asset prices move up and down primarily. So I don't think that's really going to help that much on the job front, especially now. And remember, when we talk about the efficacy of interest rates, by definition, the efficacy we'd get from a rate cut is far less than we got back in '08. Why? Because back when they cut to zero at '08, the average mortgage rate was 5.5% to 6%. Today, the average rate's 3.75%.
Yeah.
Right. So meaning, even if we got the price or the rate cuts that Trump wanted, it's not enough for everybody to refi and everybody to lower their mortgage. Right. Most mortgage owners would not refi. Right. So that's why. So anyway, there's an aspect of what he's saying that I'm like, yeah, it's going to be wild and it's going to throw some shockwaves through the economy. Flip side is it's like everything else that we've seen in history, which is it's going to have good sides, it's going to have bad sides. It's probably not going to be as bad as everybody's predicting. And I think for right now, I think that's kind of the way you got to play it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for this whole generation of kids who are like, learn to code. And really, if they had gone to the blue collar route and learned plumbing, they'd be in much better shape than learning to code, which is going to be made totally irrelevant by AI. But like, for instance, this guy I was mentioning, one of the industries he mentioned is your industry, that you can have AI plug in there and manage money and do all these things and make. I mean, are you planning on utilizing AI and replacing employees with AI anytime soon?
No, not on our side of it. I will say that we've integrated AI into what we do a lot.
Yeah, as like a redundancy thing, as like a second opinion.
Yeah, so what it will do for instance, I've got analysts, right? Yeah. And I feel really lucky to have them because back when I started doing this job, I'd do my own research, and that's for me, that's the worst part, right? Yeah. So what AI has done in our industry right now, it's basically taken the place of the junior analyst. It does all the primary work and gets me all the information I want. And then it tells me enough about whether I want to dive further into something or walk away, right? And so I don't plan on it replacing any of my people. But we're very, very different. And part of this might be me telling myself that, but no, we're very different. Yeah. The average financial advisor, and this is not a knock, it's just a fact. The average financial advisor is truly that. They're an advisor telling you, hey, your money should be put here, your money should be put here, your money should be put here, right? And we're gonna adjust this over time, and you're gonna pay me a fee. We are an actual money manager, meaning we are the ones actually making the buy and sell decisions inside the portfolio. We already have a substantial amount of data that shows we can compete and if not beat a lot of the trading systems that are out there that are automated. Will there be years where we don't? Sure. But I think if you're actively managing money like we are, remember in the investment world, AI really doesn't have an advantage on us. The speed at which it can process information is an advantage, but investing is all about going forward, right? So the AI does not have any ability to see into the future more than we do.
You don't think that there's predictive models that AI can run?
I think that there are, but the big money will be made when those predictive models are wrong, which they will be at times, right? And so my point is because we're dealing with forecasting the future, if you're an active man, now, is it going to get tougher? Probably. Right. Probably. But if you're an active manager, your ability to forecast the future is no better than AI's. And you may have some advantages there, some nuance,
Like Sydney Sweeney. Like, would AI have known that the Sydney Sweeney Gene ad was going to resurrect American Eagle because she's so hot and because the left would lose their minds and call it racist? Maybe not.
So that's funny, but that's a perfect example of what I'm talking about, right? And so you could see how AI may not have come to that same conclusion that we did. It just doesn't think the same way that a human does. And yet that's a pretty big, we bought that stock and we doubled our money in, what was that, 3 weeks or something like that? So I think that there will always be room. Now, the one thing though, is if you are a traditional financial advisor, you're in trouble. Like, and look, you're probably going to have some clients. It's like, no, I service my clients really well. You probably do. And you're probably going to have a big contingent that will stick with you. If you're a young guy starting out though in this business,
tough.
Ooh, no, yeah, just because now you can literally get the exact same thing for virtually no cost. Meaning all that financial advisor is doing is looking at historical returns of sectors.
Yeah.
Okay, well, AI can do a better job of that for free.
Well, and everybody needs to be thinking about that. If you're getting into the job market right now, have to be thinking about, okay, what is my exposure as AI continues to develop? Like, is my career path replaceable? And I pray to God that guidance counselors and college and high school are helping kids through that and helping them figure out, you need to consider whether this job is going to be a job in 5 years. So learn a trade. Learn a trade.
Two things I would tell young people, if you give me 1 second to say, but two things I would tell them is this, and this is a guy that's worked for other companies and built his own business. So I've seen it on both sides. There's 2 pieces of advice I'd give. A, if you go to work for somebody else, make yourself indispensable.
Yeah.
Right? Do the thing that nobody else wants to do. Figure out what it is. Make yourself indispensable, because I am telling you, as a guy that runs a business, you can never have too many problem solvers. And when I've run into people that are problem solvers and proactive, I've hired them on the spot, even if I didn't have a job for them. Right? Why? Because people all are your business. If I've got good people, even if it's a few too many, I'm going to find ways. They're problem solvers, right? They're going to figure out ways to do the work, right? The other one, learn to sell. Okay. I'm not talking to be a greasy salesman. It's one of the worst, most misunderstood words in the world. Why do I say learn to sell? Because people will always prefer to talk to somebody that they know as a person about a large financial transaction.
Yes.
Okay. And people will always respect people that have good reputations in that field. People will always need somebody to sell something that they create. And when you can move product of any kind, well, like other than illicit drugs, but when you can move product, you'll always have a job. Yeah. And one of the best pieces of advice I got as a young guy was, hey, learn how to sell. And it was great advice.
Yeah, and it is a people skill too. So,
yep.
All right, Zach, that is great advice. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't learn to code. I don't know. Can an AI bot replace me as a podcaster? Probably. Give it a couple years. They'll be able to come up with the same. Will they be as charming as me, though?
Not a chance.
And I know their hair won't look as good.
No, and they're not going to get invited on the Dark Horse podcast.
True. You know what I mean? At least not initially. Yeah. So.
Yeah. No, look, and for people saying all that, I think that a lot of this AI garbage is actually going to make the voices of people that are actually people.
Yeah.
I think it's going to make you more valuable.
Well, let's hope so. Thanks, Zach.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thanks for having me.